Irish retail is in the eye of the storm. 30,000 jobs have been lost, and for the country's independent retailers, it's a daily struggle to survive. Once at the heart of Irish towns, they're now in danger of extinction. But pioneering retailer Fergal Quinn is here to help. The king of customer service founded one of Ireland's best-known supermarkets and saw it thrive during the last big recession in the 1980s. And now the retail innovator is back to help save struggling Irish businesses. Cove in County Cork is a haven for tourists, and the long-standing BMC convenience store is well situated on the Prom, where the port sees tens of thousands of visitors every year. Yet despite its prime location, business has taken a nosedive for Dennis Murphy's BMC.
With a recession in, people don't have the spending power they had, but you have to learn to adapt. I'm really going to have to change the business a little bit.
Change can be particularly difficult in a family business, and in following on from his father and grandfather, Dennis is very conscious of the legacy in BMC.
I'm really very conscious of the fact that there is such a heritage. I do always feel a responsibility. I'm afraid of always letting them down, you know. I don't want to mess this place up and have it close when it's under my ownership.
There are 26 staff depending on the shop, but with Dennis often racking up a 70-hour week, he barely makes the minimum wage.
At the end of any week, you'd be talking 70 hours at least. You know, it is very tough going. It's just the only thing I know. You have Deli and Lidl selling fruit and veg items really way cheaper than we could even purchase them. So you have to try and find another area to try and keep your sales up, because with so many employees to pay for, mortgage to pay for, you know, profit has to come from somewhere.
With his long days and plummeting profits, Dennis just can't see a way out of his predicament.
I am extremely worried, because I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But I think the country hasn't seen the worst at all, not by a long shot.
When Fergal arrives in Cove, his first impression is positive. BMC is right in the path of the disembarking tourists, but is the shop making the most of its perfect location?
The shop is in the perfect position, and there are a huge number of tourists here, and as far as I gather, the vast majority of them have to walk right past here. That's a huge opportunity, and I think the impact you get when you see the shop first doesn't do anything to attract those people in.
With sandwich specials vying for attention alongside bulk buy nappy offers, Fergal feels the message in the window is messy and confused. And inside, it's the air of neglect on the shop floor itself that Fergal just can't fathom.
That looks quite untidy. Really wouldn't cost much to tidy it up and finish it off. When I walk into a shop, I look at the product first, but my eyes tend to look behind the product. Now really, you shouldn't be able to see that, or at least customers shouldn't be able to see that.
But Fergal soon discovers that BMC is littered with things that customers should never see. On approaching the deli, he's horrified to discover that food prepared that morning has been sitting under heat lamps all day.
I'm concerned about the deli. I'd much prefer to see him say, if we're going to do deli, we're going to do it really well, or we're not going to do it at all. Could I have breakfast bap, please? This doesn't look very attractive. It's certainly been here for a few hours. Ugh, no. No, we'll have to do something better than that if we're going to succeed. That's just not acceptable.
Back at home, Fergal takes a look at the books, and with sales down considerably, BMC is struggling to hold its own against its competitors.
Dennis has a real problem. The situation is quite serious with his business. So how is he going to make sure that he's able to survive? Dennis has two groups of customers. There are the locals who are there the whole year round, and then there are these extras, the tourists. Now, if Dennis can manage to keep those two balls in the air, then he can be successful. The potential for success for Dennis is in his delicatessen, because if he makes a success of Deli, he'll bring people in for the deli, and he'll be able to sell them those other things that add to making his profit.
Fergal is aware, however, that any investment in the current climate carries huge risks.
This is quite a gamble for Dennis, because if he's going to invest, he's got to make sure it works. The difficulty is if he doesn't invest, it's certain that it won't work. I believe that this can work. This is the time for him to do it.
With the solid plan in mind, Fergal sets a deadline for Dennis.
I've just discovered that one of the biggest cruise liners in the world is due in Cove. That is the ideal day to launch the new BMC store.
Fergal returns to meet Dennis and tell him his plans. On the way into the shop, he meets some tourists who have no desire to shop in BMC.
As tourists, would you likely shop in there?
Not really.
Looking at the shop, would you be tempted to go in?
But interesting things
Well,
for me.
they're nothing of interest to you.
Where it comes from, but I believe, from what I understand, it comes
The shop is not up to acceptable retail standards, so Fergal meets Dennis to hear his side of the story.
Dennis, I'm impressed at the tourist potential there is here, and I would love to be able to convince you that you do something to make sure that you garner the business from them.
I think we have the location is what's vitally needed. It's just that little something I'm missing.
Inside, Fergal shows Dennis that the shop is actually missing a big something: retail standards. With its shabby and hazardous housekeeping, things have got to change.
Dennis, I'd love to talk to you about what I call normal housekeeping. I'm looking at some of these sort of things that I think if we can do something about that, it'll improve the confidence of your customers no end.
Another place where customer confidence is crucial is the Deli, but this is not the case in BMC. For Fergal, it should be an ideal attraction for tourists.
I'm not sure that I'd be happy enough to buy from that deli. I'd have some lack of confidence about it. I'm a great believer that if you do something well, people will beat a path to your door. And I just feel in this particular area, you could be hugely improved.
With big changes required for BMC and a deadline set for the relaunch in 3 months' time, Dennis can't do everything himself. But he has an ideal person in mind to take on the all-important Deli.
I actually come from Pakistan, and I've been here now in Ireland from the last 5.5 years. The reason I know Dennis is because I'm going out with his niece from the last 3 years, and we had a lovely baby in March.
Dennis gave Faz a job when the restaurant he was working in shut down. Now BMC's success is dependent on Faz and whether he's up to the job of running a proper deli.
It's always exciting when you come in and you're the responsible, as Dennis told me, you're going to be the responsible of that thing. So it's a big task for me, but I'm looking forward for it. So I hope I won't let him down then as well when we start that thing. And that's the thing, hopefully. Fingers crossed, as they say in Irish.
Over 50 cruise ships come into Cove, and some of them with 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people on board.
Fergal wants Dennis to target cruise passengers, so he's arranged access to a liner. BMC needs to capitalise on these ships to generate badly needed business.
What are you likely to buy?
I want something completely different from what I can find at home. Something that will say that I found this in Ireland.
Other than gifts, is there anything you're likely to buy when you drop into a port such as Cove?
We wanted to try some of the local food, but it wasn't open.
You want to be able to, stop and get a beverage or a cappuccino, whatever, and a small snack. That's something that I think would attract travelers.
What can we do in BMC to make sure that all of those people coming into Cove, how can we capture them so they spend money in BMC?
Ooh, we have to put a thinking cap on there, I think, all right.
I think that people on holidays, one of the things they like to do is not necessarily sit in a restaurant all the time. And Cove has the area that they take a sandwich, they take a Coke, they take a coffee, and that's exactly the business you could be in. But I think that would mean making your shop the most attractive place to buy those things.
As another ship sails out of Cove without any business for BMC, Fergal is worried that Dennis hasn't grasped the magnitude of the task ahead. Fergal wants to show Dennis and Faz just how poor their deli standards are, so he's brought them to Ardkeen food store in Waterford, which has a top-notch deli. It's time for them to see how things should be done.
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah.
But you can picture, I mean, you can almost taste it.
Yeah, you can really, yeah.
I think what Dennis needs to learn from this trip here today is that he has to have something different from his competitors. He has to have, what we say in business is, a unique selling point. It's the fact that it's all baked here in store. What would happen if this shop was next door to you? How would you get customers to walk past this shop in order to come to you? And the answer is...
Yeah. Well, at the present moment, they'd all pass it because I'd pass it myself.
And of course, you can only succeed if you're at least as good as they are.
Yeah.
Have to come on to that standard, and then only we can succeed. Otherwise, there's no point.
Fellas, what I want you to do is get behind the counter, and this time you're going to do some work to the standards that they're going to set here. That means you have to wear your uniform. Off you go.
Okay.
Plain tuna on that.
Thank you.
No butter or anything? No.
Being honest with you, I didn't think a store like this existed that had such a high quality. Our standard wouldn't compare anything to this. It really shows you what can be done.
Dennis, looking at this, probably for the first time, said this is a standard that could be achieved. It's a way ahead of the standard he has at the moment, but it is achievable.
Back in Cove, there's just over a month to go to the relaunch, and Dennis has embarked on a shop refit to bring BMC up to acceptable standards. But they've already fallen behind schedule.
Cover over that and cover down that line. The buck stops with me still. There is a huge amount of pressure.
What we do is we can cover it with the...
We can cover it.
Very much excited about the new deli, and plus top of that, Dennis is putting this all on my shoulders, so looking forward for it anyway, and hopefully it will work. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
I'm putting a lot of money into the project in a recessionary climate. And will it impact on my turnover at the end of the day? I am very worried really about how it will work out.
There's no turning back now for Dennis, but will his €58,000 investment see BMC blossom or turn to dust? Cove Harbour is a bustling port which welcomes thousands of tourists every year. Yet despite an ideal seafront location, BMC, an independent convenience store, has fallen on hard times. Fergal Quinn has insisted on a revamp for the shabby shop, and a new high-quality deli will hopefully guarantee its survival.
It's going to be very tight for Dennis, but it's not movable. That's the day that the Queen Mary comes in. That's the day we're going to have the relaunch. That's the reason we can't change that date. It's the deadline. We're going to have to make it.
But with only 1 week to go to the shop's relaunch, BMC is still very much a building site, and keeping it open during renovations has put everyone under strain.
Yesterday, just couldn't see any way, manner or form that we could ever reach the closing date. Being honest with you, I was ready just to pull out of the whole thing and to hell with the whole thing.
With Dennis at a low ebb, Fergal has arrived to see how things are going and to offer some badly needed support.
With only 1 week to go for the relaunch, how are things? Real relaxed, everything going smoothly?
I'm so relaxed. My stress level is through the roof. You know, and looking up here and see how much more have I to do.
Well, I can understand the stress level because I remember in almost every time we opened a new supermarket, the stress was horrific, right up to the last minute. So I can tell you with 10 minutes to go next week, you'll still find that it's touch and go. You think it'll never happen. Will we ever get that deadline? And there is a stress about that, and I can hear the stress in Dennis's voice.
There has been so many closures throughout the country. I certainly don't want to be another name added to that list. So I do realise, despite all the stress, all the emotion involved in taking on something like this, it has to be done if I wanted to survive.
Time is running out, and with so much riding on the success of the new deli, Dennis has travelled to Dublin to make some final decisions on the new BMC menu.
You'll always look for something that's decent for food, and if it's not up to standard, you'll never go back there again. So we don't want that to happen. We sell an awful lot of the coffee, but we've nothing next to it to pick up with it.
This will really
right?
drive incremental sales through the likes of the confectionery.
I think our new products are going to be very successful, and what's more importantly, from a customer point of view, very, very high quality.
Dennis is confident that the new deli will draw customers in, but back in Cove, with just 24 hours to go, there's still a mountain to climb.
One day to go to lunch. I'd say we're probably 90-95% there. Maybe.
I think it's going to be really work for us. Dennis is giving all the orders, he's the boss, so...
I'm just worried about make sure this is going to actually pay off, you know, and people are going to shop that little bit more with me.
Back in town for the first time in a week, Fergal is expecting vast improvements, but BMC still isn't up to scratch.
If we're going to have strangers walk in here and say, wow, and that's what we're really looking for, then he's got a lot of work to do.
But when Fergal inspects the shelves, he discovers that things are much worse than he initially feared.
Could you check, when is that out of date? When's that out of date?
20th, they should have been removed today.
What about this? Just
19, yeah, this one here is done as well.
the danger is that if a customer gets something that makes them sick, then they're gone forever. But also, if you're sued, your shop is gone forever then as well.
I understand.
On top of being filled with gone-off produce, some of BMC's shelves are still empty.
Is it possible to get onto your wholesale?
Oh, it is, yeah. It's no problem. We'll have that first thing in the morning.
But have you ordered it yet?
No, but I can get it very, very early in the morning. So it's...
But you need to order it tonight.
Oh, yeah. More things it does. I can't believe it's coming so fast. You're thinking weeks, that's weeks and weeks and weeks away, you know, and you've plenty of time. Suddenly, it's right on top of you.
Launch day has arrived, and despite the long night, everyone is back in work first thing to ensure everything is up to scratch. Dennis rallies the staff for the day ahead.
This and what we're doing here is really supposed to secure the whole future of the shop.
This relaunch just has to work for Dennis. He's put a commitment into it of time, of energy, of himself and his people. But on top of all of that, he's put a load of money in to make sure it works. Let's just make sure that that happens. Make sure you recognise that there's a lot at stake here and it's all on your shoulders. And the very best luck. Go for it. Well done.
I'm looking forward for the day, yeah. And I hope it'll be a good day.
Last-minute deliveries are arriving, and everyone pitches in to make sure the shelves are properly stocked.
There's always last minute, no matter where you are. That's not a bad thing. But hopefully, when the tape is cut, when the door is opened, it'll be all right in the night.
Fergal set the relaunch to coincide with the arrival of the Queen Mary 2-liner. And in an effort to steer some of the passengers in BMC's direction, Fergal and some staff head down to the pier to tempt them with their new deli produce.
And hopefully with our lovely new food, they'll come and see our shop and hope they like our new shop.
Would you like to taste some pizza?
Thank you very much indeed.
Have a pizza as Mountain St Andrews.
I'll have one already and have another one if I may. Thank you very much. Lovely.
I think it's vital that we create a real big impact on the day, you know, and get people really buzzing and talking about it. I think that's going to be the make or break of it.
With the shelves stocked and the crowds building outside, it's almost time for BMC to open its doors. Fergal and Dennis give the shop a fine once-over.
Dennis, what a change. This does not look like the same place. I'm just looking at it. You must be very proud of it.
Unbelievably so. I find it hard to believe I'm in my own store. The first impression before when you came in was, to be honest, a bit dismal. Now the first impression you come in is, wow.
All the artisan products there, suitable for the tourists.
Yeah.
The shelves look filled with product, and products that people want. And the one that excites me most of all, I think, is the delicatessen.
credit to the shop fitters and credit to all the staff, that everyone really roped in together. I'm sure if my late father was alive, he'd be very proud that BMC actually still exists, because it's a long time for any sort of retail business to stay in business. I'd like to thank my mother for attending today. I mean, at 91 years old, she's an incredible lady. Without keeping you further, I'd like to welcome all of you to the new BMC.
See you all good in, right? No, put your hand down, put your hand down.
Tell me, have you noticed any change?
It's definitely very much more welcoming and inviting, really, as a shop now.
What are you doing here?
I've come on the cruise ship.
Oh, you're on the Queen,
yeah.
on the Queen Mary?
Queen Mary too, yes.
Is there anything in particular that you might consider buying?
I've seen some good local produce, some nice, interesting jams and stuff like that, which I might take home with me, yes, indeed.
Nice souvenir.
The people behind the counter are very good service.
The food as well, the food is absolutely fabulous.
That's fabulous, loads more selection of food and stuff.
They actually do coffee now as well, which is my favourite, so I love that as well.
Faz was frantic. He was getting overrun, which is fantastic, really.
I was really surprised myself. Like, I never seen Deli section that busy, up the walls.
The main concern now is that we have to keep that standard.
Once the mayhem has died down, Dennis has time to reflect on the past and the future for BMC.
I still consider, like, I don't know, maybe I'm stupid in some people's eyes, but I still consider this is my father's business, what he developed, and my grandfather developed it from the very start as well. So I'm really conscious of the heritage that I have taken over. I think he'd be superbly impressed with what has happened. So I think going forward, I'll be a lot more confident than I was before I did anything here.
I believe that Dennis will succeed, but he needs to be sure that he keeps his eye on the ball. But he certainly has got the start to give him that success.
Three months have passed, but are things still looking up for BMC?
Since we launched here, we have a lot more regular customers. We must be doing something right. The Deli has been a massive success. Figures are probably 6 or 7 times higher than last year. It's been our saving grace for definite. Had we not had Fergal Quinn here, I would say I'd be in serious trouble. I think we have definitely secured the future of BMC for the long term.
And stay with us for the RT Main Evening News coming up next.